peak and then, sort of the surge in Afghanistan, there's a sense that, for a general public that we were at, and this is driven by certain, media narratives and others, that we are in an existential fight, for survival. I mean, terrorism is depicted in this kind of existential way, which, of course, then confounds and confuses people who actually have to, be dealing with it on the ground. And so, for example, early on in my research, I would be talking with people, not academics, not lawyers, about the work, and they'd be like, well, they did that to us, so, so what if we, throw them in dog cages down in Guantanamo? It's like, look, you think that's worse than 9/11? And it's this notion of, do you understand the concept of collective versus individual guilt? And, but it's, one can just, in that regard, see, a fertile American collective imagination for Islamophobia, for public paranoia. I mean, America has a history of resurgent episodes of political paranoia. I mean, going back to the founding, in a sense. So in some sense, the war on terror really plays well with a long tradition. I mean, we were fearful of, all kinds of people, or our forefathers were fearful of all kinds of people in the past, Catholics and so on. Now, when it comes specifically to the interrogation, the decision-making, and this comes back perhaps to the comment that the previous gentleman had made, Dick Cheney and the small group of people around him had no experience with interrogation, no experience with military law, etc. They were persuaded, for whatever reasons, that only violence would work, that they wanted actionable intelligence, and they were convinced that to get this desperately needed actionable intelligence about this ill-understood organization called Al-Qaeda and its, brethren Islamist organizations, that the only way we could do it is through violence. And when they were getting, early on advice and counter, recommendations from knowledgeable military interrogators, from professional interrogators, from others, saying this is not actually effective, those people, the smart people, were excused. In fact, Colin Powell was basically barred from the kind of principle, the meetings of principals, because of his resistance to this kind of program. So people who actually knew things about international law, about effective interrogation, etc., were barred. And then you start engaging in all of this kind of violent interrogation techniques that were secret. But once they become public with the torture memos in 2004 and thereafter, you get, Senate investigations and others, you then get people justifying it. You get Bush and Cheney and others arguing over and over again that we got life-saving evidence as a result of these interrogation techniques, which ignores the fact that, first of all, the very basic fact, could any so-called life-saving information have been elicited through non-illegal methods? In other words, is the argument that you could only get it through waterboarding. But the second thing is, really? And in fact, what is conclusively known now, and I think that it will be even further confirmed when the Senate intelligence report on the CIA is declassified, is that nothing of value came out of nothing of significant life-saving, actionable intelligence